There are many places we could begin the next chapter of Winona Ravenwood's life. This is one such place. However, that's not where this chapter begins. We start with Winona Ravenwood, starting her day like any other multiple award-winning newscaster would, enjoying the view from the top of the world.
Good evening. Welcome to our weekly edition of Pcel News at 6:30. I'm Winona Ravenwood. Tonight, we start with our man in the field, Chuck Becker, who's not in the field. In fact, he's right here with us. Now, Chuck, am I right in assuming that you have a special announcement for us?
I do have a special announcement for us, and my special announcement is there's going to be an entirely new news team.
What?
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights when you've got no lights, the check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiance didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Good evening. This is the weekly edition of PCL News at 6:30. I'm your host, Andrew Hernandez. Our top stories tonight are a deep dive into the book bannings with Dylan. In the Makerspace, we have Keiko that will tell us the many uses of 3D printing. And finally, a look into the future with a couple upcoming events to look forward to. But first, hold on. We're getting some breaking news. Coming from the heart of the library, we go now to our man in the field, Daryl. Daryl, what seems to be happening down there?
As America celebrates the 69th Veterans Day holiday, we continue to honor the men and women currently serving within our military, as well as those who served and sacrificed their lives in past conflicts. This year also marks the 50th anniversary of the negotiated settlement of the Vietnam conflict between...
Wow, okay. All right, Daryl, thank you. Right now, there's a trend flooding the nation, the banning of books. Throughout the nation, libraries have been hit with the threat of closure if certain books aren't pulled out from shelves. Books such as All Boys Aren't Blue, which is a collection of personal essays by LGBTQ activist George M. Johnson. It was banned due to the LGBTQ themes along with profanity. This isn't the only book of its kind to be banned. We go now to Dylan, our library correspondent, to tell us a bit more about when books of this kind are going to stop being banned.
Thank you, Andrew. Across the nation, there has been a rise of censorship for certain books within libraries. Last year, the American Library Association tracked the highest number of attempted book bans since ALA began compiling data about censorship in libraries more than 20 years ago, nearly doubling the previous year. Back to you, Andrew.
Those book bannings sure do paint a very harrowing future. Thank you, Dylan. Now, let's check in back with Daryl. Daryl, are you there?
In their memory, beginning this coming spring semester, I will present a two-part series entitled Desert Sands and Their Jungle Boots, Walking in the Shadows of Tucson's Vietnam War Veterans. Okay, this two-part series will focus on Tucson, the city itself, from which they came from, as well as the individuals that died during this period. Part one of this series, I look at things in Tucson such as urban renewal, race relations, the culture of Tucson that was changing, the hot spots where young people went, whether it be Mount Lemon, Sabino Canyon, where they would look for certain type of flowers to enjoy their teas. I also look at the music of the 50s and 60s. And in this discussion of Tucson, you're going to see a microcosm of what's taking place throughout America's urban scene. You have urban renewal, which meant for many people opportunities in terms of real estate, but it meant for other communities such as the Mexican American community, the Chinese American community, movement out of the traditional neighborhoods into outskirts of the cities. We also see problems with the schools of overcrowded. We're going to examine some of the newspaper articles and documents which shows that, as in other parts of urban America, there was an increase in what they call juvenile delinquency. There was concern of a rise in crime, automobile accidents. We're also going to see that traditional places of exchange, such as downtown, the stores, were being replaced by the developing new malls, which you saw throughout America. What I'm trying to do in this section on Tucson is to show that for many folks, as you saw across the country, there was an attempt by the older generation to hold on to nostalgia that predated the end of World War II. For many individuals in our cities who went off to Vietnam, the nostalgia they were supposed to identify with did not exist. So you had young men going off to the war in Vietnam who, because of their skin color, could not sit in a movie theater such as the Fox Theater. There are restaurants that wouldn't serve Hispanic and Black Tucsonians. We're also going to see in Tucson that there's a class divide where some of the folks today who might be in the late 70s and 80s will say how Tucson was a collective community. You had a definite class divide. There were neighbors that were distinguished as the up and coming and others that were considered slums. So from this discussion of Tucson, you get a sense that the young men that went to Vietnam or they identified with Tucson didn't necessarily go because they defended certain ideals that parents might have held prior to World War II. The second part of this discussion, and again, it's a lecture on the East Campus, looks at the individual soldiers with an attempt to give them a place rather than just a name, a sense of humanity. So what we'll be seeing in the second section, the music, images of Vietnam, we'll have an idea what high schools these young men attended. We'll look at what major battles they participated in and died in, how they died, where they died, and we'll see as we examine these young men in individual cases that for every individual scenario that you might have seen in your movies on Vietnam, one of our Tucson vets experienced that. We had someone who earned the Medal of Honor. We had several individuals who received the Silver Star for Gallantry. Many of these 106 received the Bronze Star for Gallantry. We also had several individuals die from disease, which is normal during war. We had several individuals they're all heroes, who died from what we call misadventures. In the fog of war, perhaps one of our Air Force bombers accidentally hit their unit. Perhaps they were shot by another soldier by mistake. We had several individuals die from drowning. This was typical of what was experienced in the Vietnam War by many throughout the country. We're also going to see that many issues in Vietnam stem from what they experienced here in Tucson and other cities in the United States. Whereas many individuals today will say, we got along in Vietnam, meaning white, black, Hispanic. We'll see as we read memoirs and actual documents, there were race riots in Vietnam, as you had in the mid to late 60s in America. You also had, when you read memoirs and letters, they saw each other as white, Hispanic, Southern white. The Mexicans were called Mexicans, but when they died, they were considered Caucasian. In this second discussion on the men that died in Vietnam, I'll explain what it meant for the families when they were notified, how they were notified, what did it mean to be drafted, how many were drafted. We had several individuals who were West Point grads, who served honorably, they were veterans, career soldiers. How did they die? We had one soldier, we explained what does it mean to be part of an ambush? It means these young men were involved in ambushes. What we're going to see is that as you discuss these 106 men, as we discuss all Vietnam vets, they were in fact heroes. They represented a cause. They may have understood it, but they didn't hesitate to go forward. We'll find many of these Tucsonians actually risked their lives to save, especially the medics, to save other soldiers. We know this because now, thanks to the internet, we have actual written statements by those who survived specific battles where they comment on the actions of individuals that we only see as names in the cemeteries here in town. Another fascinating aspect of the second part of this discussion is that we have now, since 2000, 2005 or so, we've actually comments written online from children who didn't meet their parents, but now they're discussing what it meant to raise the grandchild that father never saw. What does it mean to be the daughter or wife of someone who died in war? So we get a perspective from the domestic perspective. We also see films that give us an idea of what they saw. These men could not speak for themselves, but if you accumulate the various resources that are available now, we get a sense of what they saw and how they might have felt about the war and how they might have felt about the United States, which is why I also introduced films and music from the 60s that they heard or witnessed while in Vietnam compared to the music we had here in Tucson. What I'm trying to do also is to say, as we send people to war, that we need to realize that when they go to war, we view them from a distance and not realize they're experiencing things based on what they saw here. The reality of what they saw does not match what they saw in Vietnam. So it gives us more of an empathy for what they might have experienced because we can't hear from them. It also lets us realize they may have endured things that the average American back home could never imagine. And for that reason, they're heroes. What it lets us do is also say there was some good in Tucson. There's good and bad that might allow these men to go forth and serve their country without hesitation, so that we can enjoy some of the privileges that we have here today. So this is a sociological discussion of Vietnam, not a discussion of the war, not a discussion of America per se, or Tucson per se, but try to integrate what it means when you send people to war, how it impacts those back at home, what the expectations of us as we leave the city, and what might have happened.
Daryl, all right, we'll check in back in with him, see if he's doing fine. But let's go over the Makerspace. In the Makerspace, 3D printing has caught on as a huge success. From students old to young, everyone is trying to print whatever their wildest dreams are. I myself have dabbled in 3D Makerspace. I made a Five Nights at Freddy's.
Bring it on! Bring it on! Don't do it, please. Oh, nope. No, I'm not gonna play your game. You wanna play like that? Nope. Nope. Nope.
Security breach Glamrock Freddy mask. You heard me right. I did that, yeah, and I wear it. Very cool. It was honestly very fast, and I had a great time through the entire process. Now, to our Makerspace correspondent, Keiko. She's gonna give us our audience an inside look on how to get started on everything Makerspace. Keiko?
So the very first thing to start getting into 3D printing is having an idea. That's probably the hardest part. So first you have your idea, and then you either find or create a 3D model. And if you want to find a model, come on down this way. You can visit a couple of websites or like database repositories of models. You can go either to tinkercad.com, where there's some pre-made models, but you can also use it to create models. Or you can go to Thingiverse, which is a really big database of existing models that likely have something that you would like. Alright, so once you have your 3D model, you'll take that and feed it into a software called a slicer. And what that will do is create instructions for the 3D printer to follow, which will then create create your item layer by layer until it's a completely solid object. And that's how you get a 3D printed item.
And it's just that easy, folks. The Makerspace is open to all Pima Community College staff, faculty, students, and it's all free. So be sure to take advantage of all the benefits that come with it. Besides 3D printing, the Makerspace has Cricut machines, which can make stickers, decals for cars, shirts. There's so much going on in the Makerspace. Go over there. It's free. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Just a moment. I'm receiving news that there's been a break in Daryl's story. Let's cut there now. Daryl, tell me what's happening. Gunter, it seems like we lost our penguin in the field. We'll get back to him whenever that works out. I'm sure he's fine. So let's talk about some closing statements. We got the Culture Pass, which is a student can sign out two every month. Now, there's very cool things in the Culture Pass, such as, U of A stuff, zoo stuff, other stuff of that nature. And then every Friday of the month, from 10 to 11 a.m., we have Discourse with Daryl. Very cool, interesting talks. We get into it. Go watch it. Very cool. Almost every Tuesday at the Makerspace, we have some fun, interesting events that you need to go see. It's very epic. What are we doing next month or next Tuesday? I don't know, but you will if you go and find out. I would ask Gunter to go on, but it seems like...
On a more serious note, tonight we're going to end this broadcast with a video in which we depict scenes from Tucson between 1950 and 1960 to give you an idea of what it was like for those 106 Tucsonians who died in Vietnam. Get a sense of the social environment, the political environment, and towards the end of the video, we actually highlight individuals who died in Vietnam
from Tucson High School, Sunnyside High School. It gives you a sense of what the world was like for those who lived in Tucson at that time as went through this period called the Vietnam War.
What the glove, Gunther? You can't just storm my dojo like that. You're gonna scare away.
So please, 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 let me get what I want this time. Haven't had a dream.
Woo, up in smoke.
Damn.
Well, that's going to do it for all of us here at PCEL News. I'm Winona Ravenwood. Stay classy, Pima College.
And keep it gangster.